The biggest challenges we see today with AI in our organization and our customers' organizations is data governance, the ability to pull in data sources from disparate systems throughout the organization.
Where that data lives, as well as who can access that data.
There's a lot of dynamic learning that we're having to do in terms of how to deploy AI and also how it applies into our businesses.
Currently quite early days for us when it comes to looking at AI. But in legal and law enforcement, we're seeing a big push for reviewing large amounts of written documentation.
Our faculty and staff members are using it to generate tasks, to generate images.
We're using it today to start to correlate our financial position with our projects and our billings with customers.
We see tremendous opportunity for AI, really being able to automate a lot of manual processes in our customers' organizations.
Scaling AI for us means understanding as we bring new solutions on, we bring partners on, we bring additional services on.
Cost, availability of GPUs, operating at scale.
We're a transport company, so we're looking into AI for tracking our containers.
Really build a consumable stack for the channel.
Long-term goals is to use AI for chatbots, ensuring that our support representatives can effectively find answers to questions that our customers are asking.
In the future, I think the big thing for us is around the data security, making sure we're trying to fix a problem led by the problem, not the technology.
AI is exciting, but for many organizations, it's a complicated situation. Pressure from upper management and competitors to get AI right, trying to keep pace with all these LLM innovations, concerns over security, privacy, and data leakage, cost overruns, and uncertain business returns are just a few of the challenges that organizations face in implementing a comprehensive AI strategy. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang posits that there's $1 trillion of general purpose infrastructure that needs to be replaced and accelerated over the next several years. And given the other concerns that we just mentioned, wrestling with your hybrid AI infrastructure deployments is the last thing organizations need. Hello and welcome to AI Ready Platform, made possible by Nutanix, where we dig into how Nutanix and its partners plan to simplify AI and help organizations achieve desired business outcomes. I'm your host, Dave Vellante, and we're joined by three great guests: Mandy Dhaliwal, who's the Chief Marketing Officer at Nutanix; Thomas Cornely, who's the Senior Vice President for Product Management at Nutanix; and Bob Parker, SVP at IDC, Industry, Software, and Services Research. Folks, welcome. It's great to have you on the program. Thank you for your time.
Great to be here.
Nice to be here.
So we just heard a short take from industry professionals on how they're thinking about enterprise AI. Mandy, I wonder if you could start us off. What can you add to that narrative that we just heard?
Yeah, Dave, it's fundamentally changing the way we operate and do business. There's no doubt anymore. AI is a C-suite and boardroom priority. 59% of companies that we talk to in our recent research believe it is going to change the way they operate fundamentally. And also, most interestingly, over 49%, so almost half of the folks that we've talked to recently say they've already got a workforce productivity plan in place leveraging AI. So it's moving very quickly.
Yeah, we love the data. And of course, Bob, that's what you guys are all about at IDC. We're 2 years into the AI herd around the world, I like to call it. How does IDC see the challenges that some of these practitioners face and the evolution of AI adoption generally?
Sure, thanks, Dave. Yeah, I kind of remember when I first used ChatGPT. My AI experience goes back to grad school, so I had very low expectations. But when I used it, my response was, wow, it works. And when I talk to people, they have a similar experience. So what we saw was it really captured the imagination 2 years ago of companies. And what we're seeing is the average company has about 37 proof of concepts as of the midpoint this year, but only 5 of those go to production. And then only about 2/3 of those are considered successful. So what we're seeing is this AI scramble, is the way I would characterize it today, but we're moving to a pivot where people are looking at multiple use case strategies that Mandy mentioned over a set time period. And I really think the foundation is being laid. multi-method. So it's enterprise AI. It's not just Gen AI. It's narrow AI coming together with Gen AI. It's multimodal. It's structured, unstructured, data streaming. It is multi-method. Multi-model. So I want multiple models depending on what the use case is. And it's multi-cloud, as I need to deploy it at the edge and in the cloud and in the data center. So it's very early days, but we are seeing, to Mandy's point, this emergence of an AI pivot towards a much more comprehensive enterprise AI strategy.
So thank you for that. So Mandy, what Bob just laid out means it's more complicated. And you know, I was talking to a head of innovation at a large bank recently, and he did a little take on Mark Zuckerberg. He said, we have to move fast, but we can't break things versus move fast and break things. So when you talk to senior execs and C-level folks, what do they want to get from AI? Can you bottom line it for us?
I think they don't want to be left behind, ultimately. Right? There's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of hype, but ultimately there's some really great game-changing technology. That's my word of the day. Right? And it's fundamentally changing how we operate across businesses at the departmental level and also from a financial performance perspective. It can't be ignored.
Right. It's going to change industries. And I think the executives are thinking about, just like economies of scale back in the Industrial Revolution, people are thinking about economies of intelligence in this new world. So definitely board level topic.
You know, it's interesting, Mandy, you're right, it can't be left behind, but it's interesting that, I don't know, around 20, 25%, somewhere in there, say they're still not leaning into Gen AI. So in the adoption front, Bob, do you have any relevant data points you can share on that topic?
Well, I think the adoption, I rarely talk to anybody who's not doing something. So it's really a matter of what their relative maturity is in terms of what they're doing. And I talked about that a little bit with only a certain number actually getting to production. But what we're seeing now is people, we think about like superfoods, they're super use cases, right? Superfoods are high in nutrients and they promote overall health and antioxidants. So we're looking at use cases that have robust business outcomes, represent resiliency, and promote overall company health. So, and what we're seeing in terms of adoption is people going away from what I was talking about before in the scramble, these individual proof of concepts, and more into clusters of use cases. So if I have a model that gets at customer demand, that feeds a model that maybe does inventory optimization, which feeds a model that does cash flow, right? So we're starting to connect the dots together. And I think that's what will really accelerate adoption within the enterprise.
Yeah, that makes sense, Bob. I mean, initially you had this bevy of use cases that came in and they were maybe disconnected. So I like how you sort of suggested that they're sort of identifying ways in which they can get better operating leverage out of those use cases that they're going to deploy. But Thomas, let's bring you into the conversation. I'd like to ask you, as somebody that's responsible for creating products that address some of the concerns that customers are laying out there, what are the top issues that you hear in your customer conversations?
Yeah, I mean, Dave, it's kind of interesting to listen to Mandy and Bob, right? Because as you can see, expectations run very high, right, on what AI is going to do and how it's going to go change pretty much everything in terms of how our customers do business. But the reality, when you get back to the actual technology, is still early. Okay, the technology is moving very fast, and as we see, Bob made the comment, it all throwing to customers not doing anything, but a lot of them are doing a lot of experimentation. Right? What's interesting when you talk about enterprise AI is all of this actually turns around data and content. It talks about business workflows. It talks about things that are very proprietary to companies, and so that brings up concerns. And that's really what we hear first around privacy, security, compliance. If I'm going to be doing something with this data, how do I keep it secure? Who can access it? Once I get something in the model, who can actually access that model now? Because that model reflects my own priority information. Good technology, moving fast, you get complexity. It is just hard to go and keep up with things. And that brings a big topic around enterprise AI, which is around talent. Not everybody's a Google, not everybody's an OpenAI. you can go and actually invest billions of dollars to go and build up teams of data scientists. So, how do you go and basically balance the two is a big topic for our customers. As a result, it's kind of natural to see them lead to start experimenting in the cloud. And we see that pretty much everywhere. But then cloud, and particularly with this new crop of, AI-based services, it's all complexity, very complex pricing schemes in the cloud, very hard to go actually get a sense of, what your cost is going to be in the long run. So, okay to do things, at small scale. Actually, even there, we've seen customers come back very quickly thinking, look, I need to go and basically come back here because that first build was just a big shock, right? So then you want to go and start to do things on premises, get more control. When it comes to on-premises and enterprise AI, the biggest question we hear is, where do I start?
Right, and Mandy, to your earlier point, you got to lean in. You can't sit on your hands and wait. There is a lot of experimentation going on. The cloud is great for experimentation, but to your earlier point, we got to move forward. Anything you want to add to what we just heard from Thomas?
Yeah, we obviously work very closely with analysts like Bob, and we're all, addressing this as we move very quickly. But the other side of this is we're getting started, but over 30% of these projects are slated to fail in the next 18 months because there's some fundamental issues, right? Data quality being one of them, inadequate risk controls across the enterprise to actually absorb AI, escalating costs, as Thomas had mentioned, and also unclear business value, right? There's a lot of tinkering happening, which is good, but how do you justify ROI on that? So really what we're seeing across the conversations that we're having, people are really unsure about how to start and where to start. And they also question whether their infrastructure is actually ready for this. Is it up to task? And then, as Thomas mentioned, the skills gap, right? We've got some big catch up to do on that front.
Yeah, but so Bob, a lot of issues there. Mandy mentioned data quality, fuzzy ROI. We're not at the point where these Gen AI projects are paying for themselves. They're not self-funding yet, but maybe we're getting close. Anything you want to add to this sort of topic?
Well, I think I can reinforce Mandy's comments from our own research. The top 4 reasons for failure are a lack of skills available to the company. And that sort of shines a light on the importance of choosing the right set of technology partners, because you're not going to have those skills internally. So it really takes an ecosystem to be successful. There are excessive costs is the second most cited reason, inadequate infrastructure being third. And fourth is a lack of coordination between IT and line of business, which I think is really evident in some of those proof of concepts I talked about earlier, where the HR department just ran off and did something on their own, and it wasn't centrally coordinated between the tech folks at the company and the people trying to do it. So as I was saying before, we really need to bring these together in clustered use cases so that we can magnify the value and get the ROI. But at the same time, we need to be able to manage the costs of operating those use cases.
Thank you for that, Bob. So Thomas, the application stack is evolving. It's becoming sort of AI-ified, if you will. We've mentioned a number of challenges. You don't focus on the entire stack. You provide value to a component of it. In your view, what are the first principles in terms of how you're approaching solving some of the challenges that we just talked about? The talent gaps, the data quality, the unclear value, the complexity of multi-clouds, multimodal. Where do you guys fit?
Yeah. So this is, to us, right, when you basically had the ChatGPT discovery, right, and just that massive change was going to happen, it reminded us of a lot of things that we saw with cloud initially, right? And this is a topic that, you kind of see this echo in the discussions with customers, right? You have concerns around privacy, around control, around cost. And we live to this, to the wave of cloud first, right? Customers basically going, cloud is the answer to everything, right? You go and you experiment, and then you find out, well, there's a number of things that are great, but actually the world eventually became hybrid, right? And we're now in a big hybrid multi-cloud motion. So being Courtney Jack, it's been the foundation of our success over the last few years, right? And for us, as we kind of looked at the big change around generative AI, we just could see the same patterns coming out. And we could see, look, there's other things that we've been doing that are core to our company. Let's focus on simplicity, focus on user experience, focus on data and controlling your data, focus on giving you a platform to simply run your applications that to us were just a natural extension. We have those foundations. It just made sense. If you're going to go and need a platform that allows customers to go and run all their applications and manage their data anywhere, well, you have to do it for their AI-based applications and databases in the past, models and inference endpoints going forward. And so to us, a lot of things just became, it resonates, it just echoes, right? And we like to say history repeats itself. In the case of IT, as we all know, some of us that have gray hair or no hair, it absolutely does, right? And it's a question of cycles, but the same problems just come back. And so there's a big need for enterprise customers to get the tooling to stand up those infrastructure platforms to support those new applications and those new efforts.
I agree. There are a lot of things that echo, but there are some things that are different. And Bob, I wonder if you could comment on that. So Thomas mentioned the whole cloud first, and we saw lift and shift. And lift and shift it didn't really change the operating model. So people sort of said, some of those hard to move applications are probably better off on-prem. Now we hear things like AI native. But the difference that I would love for you to comment on is that the hybrid piece of this, or the on-prem piece of this, is I've got data on-prem that's my data. It's proprietary data that I can now apply AI to and deliver competitive advantage like never before. It's not public data. It's not, LLMs aren't trained on my private data, hopefully. So there are some things that are similar. There are some things that are different. Bob, how do you see it?
I think the deployments become very multi-tier. And what becomes key is this element of optionality. So do I have a choice on where I run it? And one of the things I like about the Nutanix offer is the Kubernetes platform travels well, right? So I can deploy multi-tier. And you're absolutely right, Dave. People, it's almost a cost control effort and not just a data protection effort to maybe run something in the data center or on the edge because it's a fixed cost. But what people are learning pretty quickly is that it is different perhaps than hybrid cloud, but it's still a hybrid. And what I want is I want choice of where I deploy and how I go about that. Part of it is controlling the cost, part of it is protecting the data. So I think that notion of simplicity, security, control, and choice are all the keywords, if you will, as people are making choices about where to run these applications.
So Thomas, very exciting time. Since the summer of 2022, interest rates started steadily rising. The COVID tech bubble started to unravel. Since then, Nutanix has made really remarkable progress. It's quadrupled its market value. And today you're making a very substantive announcement, which to me anyway, marks the beginning of a new era for the company. What is the solution that you're announcing for enterprise AI, and how specifically does it address the challenges that we've been discussing here today?
Yeah, so actually, if you go back a bit more than a year ago, we announced something that we called GPT in a Box, which really was a solution, right? Meant to be an enterprise first solution, infrastructure for on-premises deployments. And what that allowed us to do is we work with customers very early on and start to see what they were missing in terms of standing up that AI-ready infrastructure, right? And what started as a solution has now turned into product-specific offering, right? And so this new offering, Nutanix Enterprise AI, the acronym is NAI to be very short, really is software that you can deploy on any Kubernetes platform. Now, what that software does specifically, and give you that AI-ready infrastructure, allows you to go and set up secure inference endpoints, bring your own models, actually automate, simply bringing a model from NVIDIA, from Hugging Face, potentially have your own fine-tuned model and make that available to your data center. So it is, true to what we've done historically is work with the people running infrastructure and give them the software that allows them to go and better serve the application developers. All right. And again, doing all this, the massive amount of optionality, because now you can use this software on premises. as part of GPT in a box, or in the cloud, in your own VPC, on your favorite cloud quality service. We get customers right now doing POCs on EKS in AWS, and the value for them is, I'm in the cloud, I have access to anything I can potentially want to use in the cloud, but for my core key assets, I know I can keep them in my VPC. It changes the way you think about consuming the services, because now you're just consuming software, not a service. So that pricing is very predictable, it's very transparent. So we've done a lot of things here to make it very simple for customers to get that foundation component for that AI-ready infrastructure, allowing them to go and run this anywhere and giving them direct access to all of their data. You can do this in the cloud, you can do this in your core data center, but really what we're going to start seeing more is doing it, at the edge, where you actually have, that edge data that you want to go actually do inference on.
So I'm hearing optionality, you can run anywhere, you can bring your own model. I'm hearing simplified, developer-friendly, and perhaps more transparent. I'm interested in how different this is from other on-prem offerings and other cloud offerings. You kind of mentioned it's software, it's not just a service, so you can sort of have more predictable pricing. But I wonder if you could sort of talk about the differentiation in specific terms relative to other on-prem offerings and relative to cloud offerings.
Absolutely. Look, and as I said at the beginning, right, this is a very fast-moving space, all right? But if you look at where we are right now, what we're bringing to the market is quite unique, right? This is the only offering that you can actually go deploy on premises that gives you literally a point-and-click interface to go and stand up your infrastructure, deliver models to your data scientists, secure access to these models, and do that in a way that you can then basically do your day two operation, which is what we're known for. In the cloud, you get access to services. So all of this is done for you. You don't get to control what is actually happening behind the curtain. And the pricing for it gets quite convoluted. And so you get back into those cost, security, and control questions. When you go to on-premises, what we're seeing from other solution providers right now, and again, this would be like application-centric Kubernetes platforms. We call it a bag of tools. You have a lot of components. There's lots of things that are there for you to go and build your own, but it's up to you to go and figure out how to assemble them. And then you're back to the question that we called out at the beginning, which is, people don't know where to start. It's not enough to give me a set of components, where's the blueprint? Who does what? How do I do this for my own application? And again, this skill gap basically points out, give me something that actually allows me to go actually meet the needs of my developers, my data scientists, I'll be ready to use infrastructure. And that's, again, this is what we've been delivering. And this is currently quite unique. We've been in early access now for a few months, and the feedback has been fantastic from customers. And again, very often just exceeding the expectations of, what they could get through just simple, easy to use interfaces.
Yeah, do CFOs want you to pay their IT departments to roll your own or do it yourself, or do they want an out-of-the-box solution? I wonder, Bob, we'd love to have the independent analyst on because you bring a perspective. I wonder if you could share your thoughts around what I'll call the strategic fit of what Nutanix is presenting here with respect to some of the challenges that we've been discussing today. Do you have any insight into use cases that are going to really drive business value? How do you see the alignment with what Nutanix is announcing and what the market needs?
Well, again, I think it comes back to that optionality, and I do think Nutanix is already skating to where the puck is going. To use a sports analogy, I apologize for that, but I really think that what we hear from folks in terms of the challenges they have in deploying use cases, this addresses that need for, I think of it as sort of a platform, if you will, an environment that allows me to innovate within, right? So that's what people want. People want, and one of the things we haven't talked about is the introduction of agents into workflows, which are going to become so prevalent. There's going to be assistants and advisors and super agents and multi-agent systems. So you need an environment that removes complexity, assures security, gives you an element of control over the data and the activity, and again, provides an element of choice as to where it runs. So, yeah, I think it's like I said, advanced. As Thomas said, it's a fast-moving it's a fast-moving space, so the competitive set, I'm sure, is not sitting on their hands either. But it's a very good advancement in terms of some of the issues we're seeing amongst the tech buyers.
And Mandy, I feel like I've been ignoring you here. Let's bring you back into the conversation. We've been talking earlier, we've talked about use cases. We've talked about co-pilots. Bob just mentioned agents, a very new, exciting area that everybody's talking about now. Fraud detection keeps getting better and better. We've talked about setting up, private versions of transformers, private chat GPTs, if you will, as an example. How do you see Nutanix simplifying the deployment of these types of applications and use cases, Mandy?
Well, as a matter of fact, we drink our own champagne around here, Dave. And sorry for the wine metaphor, but appropriate, I think, given who I am. But really what it breaks down into is, GPTs that we've been using in-house. So we've hardened some of this and also experienced from the lens of the customer how to go about the implementation and the rollout of generative AI technologies. So we have a support GPT, we have a sales GPT, we have an engineering GPT, and the use cases are all around speed to response and accuracy for customer-facing roles, business process alignment around the revenue operations side, automation of repeatable tasks from an engineering perspective, i.e. creation of unit tests. So we're finding ways to make ourselves better with the technology. So we can also be a resource in the industry, right? We're a technology provider, but we're also a trusted advisor for our customers.
I love that, the champagne, sometimes we call it dog fooding. CMOs don't like that term, but so we'll go with champagne. But Thomas, as you well know, it takes, as client zero, customer zero, you've got to refine that, and it's great that you guys can participate in that evolution. Anything you can add to that, that whole notion of simplification?
Yeah, by the way, I mean, as a Frenchman, champagne is definitely, a better choice of words, I put it this way, in terms of the energy. On what we're doing, I think the key, and we've said this a couple of times, I think with Bob, right, is it's still early, right? We got a lot of experimentation going on, and for us, very key to learn with our customers. And, what better way to go and learn with our own internal users? So our own internal data scientists, who, trust me, do not want to get into infrastructure. They don't want to know about Kubernetes, right? But they want to be able to go and get access to environments that allow them to go and actually try out things and build new applications. They're the ones directly handling the systems and giving us feedback. I want to be able to go do this, and then you can start seeing patterns. And as a product person, of course, the technologies that we can go provide, they become the foundation for a solution. But, you're not delivering bespoke solutions every time. You actually want to be able to go see common patterns of how things get done and then build products around them. And that's why we started around inference endpoints. This is something that is a key foundation piece of any Gen AI application, right? Which actually has a lot of complexities around performance, scaling, monitoring, operating this at scale. And this is what we've been focusing on solving first. And then we're going to keep on extending as we kind of see more patterns emerge, right? As we see new use cases, but then as we see repeated ways of solving those use cases, then we'll focus and we'll extend the product.
And it's great that Nutanix is trying this out on itself internally, but we also have a few customer proof points. So I want to take a moment to listen to some of those proof points, and we can come back and discuss. Please play the reel. All right, thank you. Mandy, bring us to a close. Maybe you could summarize the most important takeaway for our audience today.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. I think, from a business leader lens, what we're doing here is democratizing generative AI, right, across the enterprise. And I think this is a really important technology that's going to unify IT in the line of business. And that's what we're driving towards, and also addressing the skills gap. Right. We've got IT admins that we are about to spin up to give them the capability to become AI admins, because there simply are not enough skilled workers out there. So, we've taken the very thoughtful approach that's in line with who we are as far as our architecture is providing, freedom, flexibility, choice, all of the things that customers value, location as well. And so really, this is a platform and an offering today that we've announced that really ultimately gives the ability for folks to run fast and actually go deliver results. That's how I think about it.
Yeah, thank you. That cloud operating model is something that is now sort of really ubiquitous, and it's something that Nutanix has always been a pioneer in that regard, bringing that to any location. So I really want to thank Mandy, Thomas, and Bob. Excellent discussion. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
You bet. All right, keep it right there as we dig into how Nutanix and NVIDIA are partnering to simplify AI deployments. Don't go away.
AI is going to be part of all of your key workloads. And the question becomes, how do I now support this with my core infrastructure?
As we get into the next phase of generative AI, it's about how companies can use all of that for their own internal uses.
You need to bring your AI platform to the data, not move the data to an AI platform.
In order for it to go right, the technology platforms that are deployed and used with generative AI applications need to be secure and ensure that the integrity of the data is preserved. You need a platform that can run anywhere.
Okay, we're back discussing the AI-ready platform from Nutanix. I'm here with Tarkan Maner of Nutanix and Justin Boitano from NVIDIA. Great to see both of you again. Thanks for your time.
Great to see you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. All right, let's dive right in. Justin, NVIDIA, you are at the heart of the move to accelerated computing. You are enablers for Gen AI computing. What trends are you seeing in the market today? Is it keeping pace with expectations?
Oh, it's amazing. I'll be honest, generative AI is the biggest platform shift that we've ever seen in our lifetimes happening in enterprise. And it has this huge potential to usher in, productivity the world's never seen before. And so what we're seeing is really fundamental shifts across three vectors happening at the same time. First, CPUs can't keep up with the amount of exponential data that continues to be collected across enterprises as they engage with their customers. So the world needs to move away from traditional computing into full stack accelerated computing. The second thing we see is as people go to full stack accelerated computing, it requires reinvention of the entire infrastructure. So all of your software across your estate has to change, and all of this has to be done to power this new world of generative AI. And then finally, the third vector that we see is agentic AI. So the models that were originally built and put out there as open models were like smart college kids, but they have to be onboarded to understand your organization, your culture, your values, and obviously protect your proprietary information when you put it to work for you. And so many organizations, as they adopt generative AI, are really struggling to try and find the right platform, the right AI solution, if you will, to maintain consistency from on-prem to cloud in a way that's easy to manage and maintain. And that's why the work that Nutanix has done with Nutanix Enterprise AI really helps address the foundational element to getting generative AI working across the world's enterprises.
Yeah, and there's so much opportunity, Tarkan, and what Justin was just talking about. And if you're in an organization, you got to wrestle with just standing up basic infrastructure. It's just going to slow you down. And the announcements that you're making today is a pretty clear reflection that you guys are serious about these trends. What can you share about your NVIDIA and Nutanix joint customers? What can they expect from this partnership and this announcement?
So look, first of all, Dave, great to see you. And it seems like Justin and I do a lot of these calls. We are super excited about the announcement, of course. As you know well, we started a journey with NVIDIA a few years back. Actually, Justin and I were on stage at .next, Nutanix's big user conference back in Barcelona 6 months ago, and talking about some of the things that we were doing together, as Justin talked about, how our platform, our hybrid multi-cloud platform, and our operating model, allowing customers deploying these new type of workloads at an enterprise level. And we believe the enterprise opportunity, probably 10x opportunity, that we're just scratching the surface, as Justin talked about. This is the early innings. So having said all this, I know it's going to maybe sound boring to all of you, but we are looking at this in 3 dimensions. AI at Nutanix, what we do as a company, AI on Nutanix, the things that we support on our platform, especially those use cases, workloads, and applications, and obviously AI in Nutanix, what we do with our actual platform, our product, with all the stuff we do in it, with the IP we create. So it's a three-dimensional approach, what we're doing in this to help our customers, because we are basically drinking our own champagne as well. As Justin talked about, the opportunity is huge. This is being redefined. We announced originally a more data-centric approach to this. Now we're taking this to cloud. That's the announcement, as you heard from Thomas and Mandy earlier. So our goal is to take this to the next level, basically giving the customers a complete open platform where they can run their AI workloads across data centers, at the edge, and in the cloud, with partnerships with AWS, Google Cloud, and Azure. They're all part of this new Enigma, new go-to-market model for us.
Yeah, I like the customer zero, drinking your own champagne. We talked about that earlier today. And you know, I've done a lot of Next shows, .next, and you guys are all about simplicity, making things easier for customers. That's always been a hallmark of your offerings. And Justin, I wonder if you could add anything, and specifically, what's your reaction to the Nutanix Enterprise AI announcement? Why should we be excited, and what does it mean for the partnership and customers?
Yeah, I mean, I guess this all starts with performance and efficiency. So when the world came out with these new open models, honestly, it was intelligence that most enterprises never thought was imaginable to run in their enterprise data centers. And so just, now a year later, what we're doing is we're standing up a scalable infrastructure that takes these models, it performance optimizes them into what we call NIMs, and then it will auto scale as you have more requests coming in, across your user base. And so it starts with that performance efficiency and that scalable infrastructure, but the value is the simplicity. Honestly, it's the simplicity of getting access to all the latest models. So whether you're building retrieval augmented generation systems that need to tie into your data systems, or customer support bots, all of it can be built on this common platform from Nutanix, which is actually very exciting for every enterprise we talk to, because most of them want to keep their proprietary information, which is really the institutional knowledge about how they run their business, confidential, and they want to run it in a protected way on their network, but they want to harness all the automation benefits and this new level of intelligence to really augment their workforce to drive better efficiency and productivity across the board.
And thank you, Justin. Tarkan, AI to a lot of customers is complicated. You got new concepts, NIMs, RAG, co-pilots, now agents and agentic. So you got to have the right building blocks. The entire stack is reforming with new pieces designed to optimize for AI and this whole notion of accelerated computing. So how should customers be thinking about just the broader AI ecosystem and where they should start?
No, absolutely. You nailed it, David. As Justin talked about, there are so many dimensions to this. Look, our way of thinking is pretty simple. As Justin said, look, this is all about security, manageability, availability, reliability. Obviously, total cost of ownership, critically important, because this stuff is expensive, as you know. And also customers are dealing with massive, electric bill to run those data centers and things that nature, both for the enterprise applications and beyond. And obviously, all these simplicity required to do all of these things, again, in a secure way and in a scalable way. So having said all this, there are so many dimensions to this. Our suggestion is always, again, going back to drinking our own champagne, focus on your workloads, focus on your context of your business, where you are, geographically, vertically, which industry, the specific use cases. Then think about all the platform services you need to support those use cases, and obviously figure out the right infrastructure to support those platform services, to support those use cases and applications, from macro to micro, from top to bottom thinking, starting with the use cases and applications, because that's where things happen and that's where things break. So having said all this, we are super contextual in this. We're looking at different use cases that our customers care about. In banking, financial services, regulated industries, fraud detection, both enterprise applications and homegrown applications, all AI enabled, require different settings, a different kind of a business model, an operating model. That's why we talked about now taking our Nutanix AI platform to the cloud. Hugely important. As Justin talked about NIMs, NVIDIA inferencing microservices, critical part of this. Without that platform, this is very difficult to do. That's why we're partnering with Justin and NVIDIA to make sure we deliver that value to our customers on a daily basis. Other applications, like we have a law firm that we're working with. Law firms deal with cases. Cases require tons of documents, and that searching that data takes, days, months to build a case. Guess what? Some of this data is super private, has to stay, depending on the case, on-prem. And sometimes you need to have extensions to the cloud for those model execution. So having said all this, we deliver now intelligent content management applications and support those applications, both homegrown and packaged through our platform. And the use cases go and be a long list around customer service, Gen AI delivered coding. And we are very specific with our customers to sit down with them, with our partners, to identify those use cases very carefully and deliver the right solution with the right outcomes. Not just necessarily doing AI for AI's sake, making sure we deliver outcomes for them.
Yeah, and you talk about the use cases and people get very excited. And to your point, Tarkan, when we first saw the capabilities of things like ChatGPT, we were blown away. And of course we wanted to lean into that in the enterprise and then realized, wow, we have to have this trust layer, because that's a huge concern. We have to move fast, but we can't break things like we used to. And then, we're doing things that just weren't possible before. And Justin, I was listening to Jensen the other day talk about how, he's famous because he has I forget what the number is, but 90 direct reports or something crazy. But he was talking about how he's going to be able to orchestrate hundreds of thousands of agents. You mentioned agentic up front, and it's a really exciting development, and it's going to take a lot of work. But Justin, from your perspective, what future developments or innovations are NVIDIA and Nutanix working on together that we should be paying attention to?
Yeah, I think, as Jensen said, we are today, I think 30,000 employees, but there's in a not too distant future, we're going to have, we think 50,000 employees with hundreds of thousands of these AI agents, running across the enterprise. And the reason is, obviously, they can deliver a level of efficiency and take a lot of the mundane work out of work, so that your workforce can focus on solving the harder problems that they actually find really their life passion to go solve, right? So as we build these new AI agents, the work that we're doing with Nutanix is really to make it easier. And we've announced another platform we call NVIDIA AI Blueprints. And what we're doing is, through all of our learnings, through all of our GSI partners, and all of the direct engagements with enterprises, we're turning these into best practices. So you can take an NVIDIA AI Blueprint for customer service, or a blueprint for PDF retrieval, or a blueprint for software development, or security analysis of the software that you might bring in through open source, and you can put these use cases to work much more efficiently. They all run on top of the NIMs, so on top of the Nutanix Enterprise AI platform, making it really easy to get specific use cases and specific job functions, to work within your enterprises, so you can see the value of accelerating your workforce, improving productivity, and driving innovation faster in a number of new use cases.
You know, Tarkan, so often in IT, there's a weakest link, I'll call it, or something that's slower. So the whole caravan has to slow down so that the slowest truck can keep up. And now we're entering an age which is completely different. These agents, you know, sometimes I call them worker bee agents. They're going to get smarter and smarter and smarter over time. We're going to lift them up, as Justin was just saying, hundreds of thousands that we're going to be able to put to work. I mean, it's mind-blowing. So where do you see the focus of your partnership, specifically in terms of driving new innovation?
Yeah, look, you nailed it. Your analogies are great, Dave. I love the way you're describing exactly that. So look, we cannot do any of these things alone. We cannot. There's no way. Look, NVIDIA is a $3 trillion+ company. Justin spends probably more than half his time with partners and customers to build that ecosystem. He's done a phenomenal job. To be honest with you, we're learning from Justin and what he's doing, and we're replicating some of these things with him and beyond. You know, partnering with all our ecosystem partners, from Supermicro to Dell to HPE to Cisco, our new OEM partner, making sure on the server level we have all the right partners. We just met with Fujitsu executives and CEO yesterday. We're applying some of this thing to Japan now. It's a unique environment with new sets of protocols and standards. Again, going back, making sure from the application layer to platform layer to the infrastructure layer, we have the best open ecosystem partners who are focused on customer outcomes. One other area obviously big for us is with our NVIDIA partnership to build tighter integration to our application partners. And in each geography, in each vertical industry, in each customer segment, there are different set of applications, both homegrown, new applications with new tooling, as well as enterprise applications. Again, going back, supporting them with the right control, security, manageability, cost performance capabilities, then the platform level. One key thing I just want to tell you, it's important to us is also to do this with service partners. We're doing a lot of work now with TCS, with Accenture, with Wipro, with Infosys, and solution partners in each geo, making sure they're part of the solution and delivering solutions for the right outcomes. Because technology vendors, sometimes we all get geeky. We think our technology and bits and bytes are going to solve everything. Guess what? Every use case is different. We need these service partners to help us out. As you saw our announcement last week with Accenture, we're pushing heavily with AWS, with Google, with Azure, deep, delivering solutions across all cloud platforms. And guess what? Without the right solution partner, service partner, those migrations, those deployments are difficult. So we're making sure ecosystem partners are helping us to deliver the right outcomes for the customers in each geo, in each vertical industry for any use case.
Yeah, and we're all, of course, enamored by the consumer use cases at scale. It's amazing, but it's that proprietary data that you guys are allowing organizations to tap that is going to completely transform industries, as you were just sort of describing, Tarkan. We're out of time, and guys, I hope we can see each other face to face soon. I love having you on the program. Maybe Justin first, and then Tarkan, you can bring us home. But give us your closing thoughts and takeaways from the discussion today.
Yeah, well, I was going to say Tarkan almost works with the exact same ecosystem we do. So that's exciting to hear. For everybody from OEMs to cloud providers to model builders to Gen AI tooling companies, there's a million different tools that people may want to use, and we want to empower them all, right, to bring the combination of our software and Nutanix to the world's enterprises. And the reality is this generative AI opportunity is the biggest, most transformational productivity gain that we're going to see in our lifetimes. And so everybody wants to, should think about how to get started and how to get going. Because the sooner you start to apply this, the sooner you start to learn, the sooner you can basically make generative AI work for you. And ultimately, this is going to be there to supercharge innovation, supercharge productivity, and this full stack reinvention of your data centers, is I'd say easy to start if you start with something like Nutanix Enterprise AI. So thanks again.
Yeah, thank you, Justin. Tarkan, bring us home.
So very quickly, look, I'll finish where I started. Every single conversation with our customers, Enterprise AI is the main topic comes out. Regardless what the topic is, it starts there and ends there. And the advice I give all our customers and partners are focusing on the outcomes we need for the workloads and use cases and the supporting applications, what they are, what's the goal, what's the outcome the customer is looking for, then focus on the right platform service, the right infrastructure service to deliver those outcomes. So from that kind of an order, we need to start. And we need to avoid to get into that geeky IT mode, starting all the bits and bytes. We might not deliver what customers are looking for. So that macro to micro look is going to be very important. And again, as Nutanix, our view on this is AI at Nutanix, drinking our own champagne. What are our needs? How we're looking at this? AI on Nutanix, on our platform, making sure the right applications are supported, homegrown and packaged. And obviously in Nutanix, working with partners like NVIDIA, delivering the right IP to deliver all of this for our customers. And look forward to the next steps. Justin, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate you always as the best partner in the business for us, and look forward to doing more.
Oh, thank you, Tarkan.
And thank you, gentlemen. Really appreciate your time. And as we said at the beginning of the program, AI initiatives are exciting, but they're complicated. And we've been talking today about how to reduce friction, how to lower costs, minimize risks, and move fast, again, without breaking things. I hope you found this program informative and inspires you to dig in deeper. Go to Nutanix.com/enterprise-AI and take the newly released product that we've been talking about here for a spin. You can test drive it again. That's Nutanix.com/enterprise-AI, where you'll also find a list of resources and upcoming events near you, where experts will be available to answer questions face-to-face and help guide you through the maze of AI options. This is Dave Vellante on behalf of all our guests from Nutanix, IDC, and NVIDIA. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.